Welcome back to this new module. So in this module, we will build the cursor animation project. So this will be the final version of the application that we are going to build. If I hover over the navigation links, then you can see our cursor is changed to this particular rounded one and also going to expand its height and width. You can see if I hover over to the contact, then we get this type of cursor animation. So we are going to build this particular project in this module, and most of the things are actually done by using the CSS, and then we are going to control this particular effect by using the JavaScript. So in the next part, we are going to start with the HTML part of the project. Now for the HTML part, I have already created the required files inside the Visual Studio Code. That is index.html, style.css and script.js file. Also I have launched the project inside the web browser, and also I have launched the final version of the application that we want to build in this module. Now the first thing is we need to create the cursor division. So inside of the index.html, I'm going to here use the class cursor and then pressing the tab key. So this will be used to create the cursor, that is this rounded cursor. Alright, that it is going to move on the basis of the mouse event. And then we need to create the navigation. So here I will be using the nav, and I need a navigation tag here. Also I'm going to replace the nav tag. Inside of that we need ul. So I will be here typing the ul tag, and we need to define the class for this ul element. So it is going to be like nav links. Instead of that, we need to define the li item. So the first item is going to be home. Then I'm going to duplicate this line of the code 2 more times, and then I will be updating the value of this particular list item to contact. And then I'm going to update the value this one also, which is going to be about us. If I control save it, now you can see we are successfully able to see these things inside the browser. Also you can see the default styling of the browser is already changed. That is because with this CSS properties. So in the next part, we're going to continue with the CSS part of the project. So in this lecture, we're going to write the rest of the CSS for this particular application, which is the cursor animation project. So instead of that, we need to here select the nav tag. So nav tag, and first we need to set the display to actually flex. So after applying the display to flex, now we can actually set the justify content to space, and here we need to actually use the space evenly property, that is this one. If I control save it, now you can see the content is actually moved to the center, and then we need to provide the minimum height, which is going to be like 10 vh. Now you can see the minimum height is also applied, and also I am going to provide the minimum width, which is going to be 90%. And then I'm going to here specify the align item property, that is going to be like center. And then I will be here providing the margin. So margin is going to be like auto, and then we need to here provide the minimum height. So here I have provided the minimum height already, which is this one, which is going to be 100 vh. For control save it, now you can see the things is actually moved to the center of the browser. Also before the nav tag, here I need to select the body selector. So inside of the body right now we can see the cursor. So if I use here a cursor to none inside the body, then you can see our cursor is now not visible to the body. If I actually take the cursor to the body element, you can see it's going to be hide, because we have set the property cursor to none, because we are going to use this division element to set the cursor, means act as a cursor for the project. So that reason we have hide the cursor for this particular body section of the project. After applying the cursor none property inside the body, the next thing is we need to change the font. So font size means the font family, not font size. We need to set it here monospace, and then we need to change the background color. So here I will be using the background color, or I can use a background, because I am going to here use the linear gradient function. So linear gradient, and then I am actually providing here a 315 degree for the gradient, and then the color code for the gradient, which is B8C6DB. And also I need to provide the percentage value for the opacity, or I can say that the value of the opacity brightness. Then I will be here using the F5 and F7 FA, and then here I need to provide the 74% value. I can see the gradient color is applied to the project. Okay, and after that we need to provide the style code for the nav links. So here I'm going to select the nav links class, that is this one. So coming back to the style.css, so it is going to be like nav, and then we need to provide the links. Alright, instead of that we need to first set the display to flex. Alright, and then once I save it, now you can see everything will be arranged in a single line. And after that we need to provide here a justify content. It is going to be spaced evenly. And then we need to here provide the list type, means the list style, to actually none, which will remove the rounded bullets. Okay, and then we need to provide the code for the nav links li items. Inside of the nav links li item, first I need to define the padding of 2 rem units. So now you can see there is a padding between all of these 3 list elements of 2 rem units. Then we need to define the font size, which is going to be like 1.9 rem units, which will actually increase the size of the font. And after that we need to increase the font weight. So font weight, it is going to be like 800. So now you can see it looks more bolder. Alright, so after the nav links, then we need to actually use here a cursor property. So here I will be using the cursor class, that is this particular class. So we need to create the cursor. So right now you can see if I come back to the browser, the cursor is not actually visible. So here we need to use the cursor class, and first we need to set the position to absolute. Then we need to use the width is going to be 3 RAM units, and the height is also going to be 3 RAM units, so that we get a perfect square. And after that we need to add the border. So border is going to be like 2 pixel border and of solid gray border, not green, it is actually gray border. And then we need to add the border radius. So border radius is going to be 50%, so that we get a perfect circle. Then we need to use the transform property, which is going to be translate. Instead of that we need to define the minus 50%, and then we need to define the minus 50%, so that it will be visible in a perfect center. Alright, and then we need to use the pointer events. So now you can see we have now the cursor is visible to the browser. You can see here right now the cursor is now visible. Here we need to use the pointer event, that is this one, pointer events, which is going to be none, because we don't want to trigger any events on the basis of the pointers. Then we need to add some transition. So transition all is going to be 0.3s, which is of type is. And after that we need to add the transition property, which is going to be background, and here we need to provide a transform. Okay, and after that we need to apply another property, which is called transform origin, which is going to be 100%, comma, and then we need to also provide the 100%. You can see once I control save it, the cursor is actually start moving. Alright, and after that we need to provide the z index value, so that it is going to be -1, so that whenever we hover over it, the content is actually at the front of the cursor. Alright, coming back to the other version of the application, then we need to here provide the backdrop filter. So that is this one, which is going to be grayscale. Instead of that we need to call the grayscale function. Okay, so that marks the completion of the code for the cursor. Now this particular code will be gets more clear when we are actually using the JavaScript, because we need to actually use the JavaScript to use it as a cursor for this particular project. Now we need to write 2 more CSS code that will be used to animate these things. Right now you can see there is some small animation. So this is actually achieved by writing 2 more CSS, which is called link animate. So whenever we hover over these particular links, we want to animate the link and also the cursor. So for that we need to write two more CSS. So here I need to type the link, and then we need to here use the animate. So first we need to here use the transform function, means transform property. Inside of that we are going to use the scale function. So we need to scale it to time its original state. Then here we need to use the background, and background we want to change it to black. Alright, and then again we need to use the link, which is going to be hovering. Also we need to start its block of the code. Instead of that we need to set the color of the text to white, which is the color of the links. If I control save it, now you can see nothing will be happening to this particular project, because these three CSS code will become more clear, because we are going to use these CSS code inside the JavaScript, which is our next step for this particular project, which is the cursor animation project. So now it's time to start with the JavaScript part of the project. So for that we need to use script.js file. Instead of that, first we need to get the reference to this particular cursor inside a variable of type const. So here I will be creating a const. Now this one we are going to create here a const, and I am going to here call the custom cursor. It is going to equal to document, that is document dot query selector, and here I will need to specify the type of the selector. So it is a class selector. Then we need to define the name of the selector. So it is like cursor. Now we get the reference to the cursor. The next thing is we need to attach the listener. Here I am going to use the document, that is this one, means we need to use the document dot add event listener. So we are going to add the listener to the document, which is the HTML document. Instead of that we need to listen to the mouse move, that is this one, and then we need to call the callback, which is actually move cursor. Okay, so now we need to create this particular move cursor function. So here I need to use the function, then move cursor, not mouse move. We need to create the move cursor, and here it is going to accept a one event, and then we need to actually here provide the update, and inside of that we need to pass this particular argument. And after that, inside the update cursor position, that is this particular function, so we need to again use the function, then update cursor position function. This is going to accept an event. Alright, and inside of the update cursor position, first we need to here use the custom cursor dot style, not computer style, it is going to be style dot, so it is style, and then we need to use here a top is going to equal to e dot page y. Page y, which is capital V, means on the y axis, so we want to move the cursor on the basis of the pixel unit. And similarly on the custom cursor dot style dot left, it is going to equal to page x plus, not equal to, we need to add here a plus, then pixel. Alright, now if I control save it, and now you can see our cursor is start moving inside the project, because we are actually updating the position of the cursor. Now the next thing is we need to write the code for these navigation links. So first we need to fetch all these navigation links. So here at the top again we need to create a variable const, then nav links is equal to then document dot query selector all, because right now we have more than one selector of similar type, so that is the reason I have here used the query selector. So we want to listen to the, means we want to select nav links, which is the class name for the selector, and then we want to target all the list elements, because under the nav links we have all the allies, which is a list element. Now after getting the list element, it's time to set the listener to all of these nav links. For that I will be using the for each method. So here navlinks dot for each. Instead of that, it is going to accept a one callback. So it is of type link. Then we need to define the arrow function, which is like the body of the arrow function. And here, instead of this particular one, we need to set the link dot add event listener. So we want to listen to the mouse enter, and then we need to provide the arrow function. Okay, and then we need to again copy it, and here we need to simply use the mouse leave event. Instead of that, we need to create two functions. The first one is animate cursor. We are calling the two function. Then here we need to use the highlight, means the name of the function, highlight link, which is the highlight link function. Then this one is going to accept a link parameter, that is this particular one, which is the link in which the actually listener is setted. Then similarly inside of that, we need to call the to function, which is used to remove the event listener, means the remove cursor animation. And then we also need to use the highlight link, and then it is also going to accept a parameter link. Now it's time to create all of these four functions one by one. So here first we need to use the function, and first we need to create the animate cursor. We need to start its body. After that we need to create the function, which is remove cursor animation, and this is actually used to remove the cursor animation. Then another function that we want to create is actually the highlight link, then to start its block of the body, and also this function is going to accept a parameter link. And the fourth function that we want to create, which is actually unhighlight link, then this function is also going to accept a one parameter of link. Now instead of this unhighlight link, we need to use the link dot class list, not query selector, class list dot remove, and instead of that I will be using link hovering. Okay, and inside the highlight again we need to use the link dot class list dot add, and instead of that we need to use the link hovering class, that is link hovering, that is the similar class name, that is this one, link hovering. Instead of the remove cursor function, again we are going to use a custom cursor dot class list dot, and here we want to use the remove function because we need to remove the class. So we want to remove the link animate class, that is this particular one. Want to remove the link animate. Alright, and inside of the animate we need to use a custom cursor dot class list dot add function, and we want to add the link animate. So now the things is completely done, and these all functions are self-explanatory because by just reading the name it is already understood that this particular function will animate the cursor because we have used the add function and we are adding this particular CSS code dynamically, because this is actually the CSS code that we are actually adding with the use of the JavaScript. Then this particular one is used to remove the cursor, and we set the highlight link to the hovering effect. Then again here we are removing it. Control save it. Now if I come back here, you can see our application is working fine, but there is slightly a problem. You can see once it is set to white, the things is actually not removed. Just like in the previous version, means the final version, it is actually increased, then the cursor changes back to its normal state, you can see, and also the color is changes back to black. But in our version, once the cursor is changes its position, then it's not going to change, you can see. So it means that the remove functionality is not working. So if I come back to the style.css, so link hovering, maybe I have done something wrong here. Link hovering, I control save it. Now you can see still the problem exists. Now if I press the F12 key, maybe I made some typo. So yeah, there is some typo exist in this particular project. If I refresh it, and now if I do that, now we actually get the, so here it is actually remove cursor animation. Okay, so remove cursor animation. So in which line we are actually getting this error? So link.add event listener. So here it is actually giving it. So here I made a typo, which is remove cursor animation. If I control save it, if I close the console, now you can see everything is working perfectly fine. So we made here a typo. So I actually made here a typo. That is the reason the code is not working. But now it is actually solved. So if I hover over these particular elements, the cursor is changes, and also the color of the nav links gets changed. So yeah, that marks the completion of the code for this particular project. If you like this module, then leave your review, because your review helps me to reach more students and also motivates me to create more beautiful and more high quality content like this. So thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next lecture. Thank you very much.